All right, so this video is going to cover this 2D array activity number 2. It says assume we are going to create a 2D array called scores. Answer the following question about the 2D array scores. Insert in values 1 through 10 in each box below. Okay, so we're going to, what does it say? Define your scores 2D array above. All right, so this is like the first worksheet I hand out, and we write out by hand together in class in my AP course in the high school level. So let's see here. So number 1. So for C++, we would just do what? Int scores. And it's a 4-dimensional, or it's 4 rows and 5 columns, I believe. See here, okay? So that's number 1. Well, I'm gonna need to insert stuff, but it says define your 2D array above. That's what I did. Now I'm gonna fill it in. Define and assign your 2D array with the numbers you put in each box. So let's, number 2 would be actually inserting information into it. Now, what you need to know about 2-dimensional arrays is they're just multiple arrays. So usually, you just have something like this here, but now we're going to have multiple ones, all right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, all right? And then we'll just plug in numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then let's just do some different numbers. 8, 9, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that's a 4 by 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. Now, same thing, index starts at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, index 4. Now these are the columns. The row would be, I'd have to put them over here, but it'd be index row 0, index row 1, index row 2, index row 3. Okay. All right, so that's that. Let's see what 2 says. It says, so we defined it, we assigned it with information. So that'd be 3, define, assign. All right, create a row size variable and then create a column size variable. All right, so we need to know the sizes. So this is like 1, 2, and 3 all combined, right? So this is 4 down here. Okay, so we'll do an int row size, and that's going to be equal to the size of the scores. Size of scores. Okay, 5 is going to be the column size. So again, you got this. This is just how you get the number of rows, and then this next one is going to be how you get the column size, the number of columns in it. So that's going to be equal to the size of our and then the row size. Okay, so that's going to give us our row size and call size. You know, we can do a simple cout row size just to test this thing. And then we can do the same thing, only we'll do call size. And this is just something that you're going to have to memorize how to do it, because it is important. Whoops, I'll probably need endls in there. It's going to come out on the same one. That's fine, it doesn't matter. Just simple testing just to make sure it works right off the bat. So row size 4, call size is 5. I'll add in our endls right there, end-l. And you know, you guys should be typing this stuff in, following along. What's the next one we got? So that's 4 and 5 down. 6, what is the index of the first element in the first row of scores? What is the first element? First element is this 1 right here. So, you know, 6 would be something like cout, and we could say scores at 0, 0. And what's 7? 7, what is the index of the last element in the last row of scores? So the last one's down here. So end-l. So first element, first row. And then 7 would be what? Cout last element, last row. So that would be what? Scores at 4, 5. Let's get an endl in there as well. Endl. Alright, let's run this thing now. So it should be 1, and then I think that was a 2. First element, 1. Last element. Alright, so what did I do wrong here? Scores at 4 and 5. See if I got 4 and 4. Let's see what happens here. It doesn't like something. Copy and paste. Let's see if I'm missing something. So we'll say last row. I don't know. 3, 5. Let's see what that does. Well, that 3, 4. Sorry, that would screw that up, but why is that one? So last row. Yeah, so row 3. Column 4 is this 2 right here. Sorry, I was, again, like, this is easy to screw up. If I think about this as counting, if I think of this as row 1, 2, 3, 4, I screw that up because there isn't a row 4. It's row 0, row 1, row 2, and row 3. It's got 4 rows and 5 columns, but the last row is row 3 and the last column is row 4. Okay, so if I start plugging in 4, 5 like I just did, you know, again, counting at, we got to count it starting at 0. So that's where I made that mistake. So good mistake to make on a video so that you guys know what to look for. Okay. All right, so let's see, what's number 8 do? Assume that each row represents Sorry, my kid walked in, so let's start over with A. It says, assume that each row represents a student and each column represents a quiz score. Determine the average score of the quizzes for the student in row 2. So we just want to figure out the average of that right there for row 2, okay? So, let's see here. We would do a for loop. We got to do nested for loops with these, all right? So we start off and we would say int row, and we would assign it to 2, and we would say row is less than or equal to 2. So we would only run through everything in this row. We would skip everything in this row, everything in this row, everything in this row. We wouldn't go to it. We would just do row 2, okay? And so we would say row plus plus when we're done with that row, okay? And this would be int call, and we would set call equal to 0. So we would start off in column 0. And then we would say what? Call is less than our column size. Call plus plus. So we start off at 0. Our column size is what? 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's start off at 0, then it would go to 1, then it would go to 2, then it would go to 3, then it would go to 4. And each time the column is being added up till finally it's 5. So it's 5 less than 5. No. So then it would skip everything in, and it wouldn't go any higher. So you would be done running that. Running that. Okay. So then we need a, let's see here, we need a total value. So I'm just going to say double, well, I mean, they're all integers, so, but I'm going to make a double total, okay? I'm going to set that to 0. Okay, and so I'll say total plus equals whatever is at the score at the row that we're currently in and the column that we're currently in. And so what it will do, it will add up. So row 2, so 0, 1, 2, this is row 2, and it would go 3 plus 4, 7, and then 5 would be what, 12, 6 it'd be 18, and then 7. So you should get 25 divided by 5, and so our average score would be a 5. And there's an error there because it's called scores. Okay, so then what we can do is we can say cout, and we can say student, let's do row 2 average, and we'll say total divided by the column size, which would give us 5, right? And then we can do another end L right here. So let's look at that. That should be, like I said, it should be 25 divided by 5, which would give us 5, okay? So that looks good. All right, what's 9 now? 9 says assume that each row represents a student. So now we're flipping it. Before, each row represented a student, right? 8, assume, let me read 8 again. Assume that each row represents a student, each column represents a quiz score. Assume that each row represents a student and each column represents a quiz score. Each row represents a student and each column. Determine the average score of the quizzes for column, oh, okay, so now what we're doing, so for column 3 is right here, we're looking at the average for each student, so of all the students combined basically. So it's just, so this is student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, whereas before we're looking at this student, individual student, and adding up and checking the average of that student score. Now we're checking the class average basically with 9, okay? So 9's going to be a little bit different, but not bad, okay? Now we got to read through each row, but the column needs to be the same this time. So instead, we'll say double total. We'll say total 2 equals 0.0, and we're definitely going to do some copying and pasting here. Double. Okay, and so this time our row is going to be set to 0. And then our row is going to be less than the row size. And this time our column is going to be set to column 3. And we'll do column 3 is less than or equal to 3. And then we'll do a column plus plus. And then we'll add these up, the row and the column. And then we'll have what? Total 2 divided by row size. Okay, because again, we're looking at, we're going to add up 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 6 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So 16 divided by 4 should be 4, right? Okay, so this will be the class average on quiz number 3. Okay, let's run. So we should get 4 here. Let's see. Class average on quiz 4 or 3 is 4. Okay, and I ran the math in my head, and so I know that it works. Okay, so but definitely always good to test. All right, so what is 10? 10 says add up all the scores in columns 0, 2, and 4. So add up all the scores in 0, 2, and 4. Column 0, 2, and 4. So we want to add up 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 8. So that's what? 3, 6 plus 8 is 14. 14 plus 7 is 21. Plus 5 is 26. 26 plus what? 11 is 37. Then plus 7 is 44, 45, 46. So this should be 46. So we want to add up just the, so how would we do that? All these columns that we're adding up are even columns, so we probably want to do some sort of modulus thing, or we could just add up the column plus equals 2 instead of doing the modulus. So that's actually probably easier. So we'll say double total 3 equals 0.0. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So again, we know there are 4 nested for loops. So we'd say int row equals 0. Row is going to be less than the row size. And then we would do what? Row plus plus, because we want to hit every row, but we want to skip columns. So we'll say int col equals 0. Column is what? Less than the col size. And then we want to do col plus equals 2, right? Because we want to go column 0, and then we'll add up 2 to it. So it'd become 0 plus 2 is 2, and then 2 plus 2 is 4. So we would skip columns 1 and 3. And so what we can do? We can do total 3 plus equals scores at the row and the column. And do another C out, and we'll say this is total 3. We're not even dividing it. We just added it and displaying it. So we want to do the total for columns 0, 2, and 4. Okay. 0, 2, and 4 is 46, like I said. Probably want one of those right there. All right, so that looks good. Number 11, add up all the scores in row 1 and 3. So now we're going to just do rows 1 and 3. So let's make that total 4. We'll start off at row 1, and we'll do the plus equals here. And then we probably want every single column there. Plus equals 2. Total for rows 1 and 3. So let's add these up in our head and make sure it's right. So 2 and 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9, plus 5 is 14, plus 6 is 20. We got 29, 37, 38, 39, 40. If I add that up right, it should be good. It should be 40. Yep. So total for rows 1 and 3 is 40. Okay, so again, you're starting at row 1, and then once you're done processing all the columns in row 1, then you add 2 to it, so it becomes row 3, and then you process all the columns in row 3 and keep adding them up to the total. All right, so number 12. Let's see what 12 is. 12. Use a nested for loop to find the sum of the values in score 0, 1, 2, 3, diagonal values. I think I missed one. I think I meant to do 0. So this one, 1, 3, 5, and 1 right here. So the total of them would be 4, plus 5 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Okay, diagonals. All right, so let's do a double total, 5. And then we'll do our 4 loops. Same thing, it's going to be scores at our row and our column. Total for scores at 0, 0. Okay, that needs to be 5. All right, so let's think through this algorithm. So I'm going to say int row equals 0. Row is going to be less than the row size. Row plus plus, because we want to add them up. Okay. Then we'll do int call. And column's going to be the same as row because we're going to go to 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. And the call is going to be 0, 1, then 2, then 3. So we want that to be equal to the row. And then we'll do call is less than or equal to the row. So we only add up that 1. And we'll do call plus plus. Okay, so it should be 10 here. Let's look at this. It's 10. Okay, again, the algorithm for this is a little bit more complicated because, again, we just want to have the row and the column be equal to each other each time. So, again, this would be like for row 3, that would make column 3. And so 3 is less than or equal to 3. and then we would just add that one row 3, column 3, but then column would become 4, and 4 is not less than or equal to 3, so that's what would limit it, and it would only do, you know, row 0, column 0, row 1, column 1, row 2, column 2, row 3, column 3. Okay, so that's how you would do a diagonal. And let's see the last one. Which one are we doing here? Display each element in the 2D array in reverse order. This is a fun one. Okay, so reverse order. We don't need a we do not need to total anything, so we're going to do, again, nested for loops. So we'll start with the last row, so we'll say int row is equal to the row size minus 1, so the row size is what? 4, so 4 minus 1, so it would be row 3. And we would say row needs to be greater than or equal to 0, and then we can do row minus minus, okay? And then we would do an int call in the last element, and the last column is equal to the call size minus 1. And then we would do the call needs to be greater than or equal to 0, and then call minus minus. And then we do a cout, and you would say scores at row, column, and then we would just do, you know, like a comma in between each one. Okay, so that would display all of our columns, and then after each column is displayed, then we need to do a cout to end the line, and then I think that should be good. Let's see here. So now we got to kind of go up and compare what we had just to make sure it's right. So it would be, it would basically, this would become our new row 0. So then we got 21098, 21098, and then 76543, 76543, 65432, 65432, and then 54321, 54321. So that would display it backwards. So that's it for this document. So make sure, you know, if you could write these out by hand, that'd be wonderful. So anyway, that's it for this video.